This is Luke Radowski of WeAreChange.org outside City Hall in Pennsylvania during the Democratic National Convention. As you can see outside, there are a lot of people who are pissed off with Hillary Clinton here. One of them is Nico. He just gave a very eloquent speech. He's one of the leaders here against Hillary Clinton, and some people here are planning to campaign against Hillary, especially in the swing states, to make sure she does not get elected. Before we get into what the organizers here are planning, Nico, I want to talk about why this is happening and how Hillary Clinton kind of stole this election undemocratically.
Well, I think the more popular reason a lot of people are aware of is the election fraud. But what a lot of people are unaware of is the fact that Hillary Clinton, from the beginning, made a concerted effort to infiltrate the Bernie Sanders campaign. A lot of people around the country had suspicions of this. However, being in the state where Hillary tends to romp a lot in North Carolina, she made the mistake of hiring someone, Bernie Sanders hired someone to be the North Carolina state director for his campaign, who happens to be from North Carolina and has no progressive links whatsoever to anyone who is anyone in the progressive community. And once this happened, we kind of had a red flag, and I purposely removed myself from direct communication with the Bernie Sanders campaign until we could have further confirmation that she was who she said she was. Long story short, she was working for Hillary. She had actually just got done going to a Hillary field organizing meeting a week before she was hired. Her pictures were still on Facebook. She had just gotten done going to a Hillary Clinton rally. I mean, the proof was in the pudding, and not only was the proof in the pudding, but we started finding out once I made the initial video that this was not only happening in North Carolina, this was happening literally all over the country. We had issues in Nevada, we had issues in Florida, South Carolina, right down the street from us. A guy left the Bernie campaign in the middle of campaigning as a regional field organizer and posted a picture with Hillary Clinton after she won South Carolina. I mean, it was going on and on and on, and we were being called conspiracy theorists. We were being told that this commonsensical information that anyone could go find in Google was insane. I was one, along with the people who helped me research, who actually initially broke the Victory Fund information about her funneling money to the parties, because we have a lot of people in North Carolina who have worked close with people who work with Hillary, and they were telling me where to look and where I could find this information at. And so we eventually realized that Hillary, as soon as she realized that Bernie Sanders was a threat, and it wasn't Martin O'Malley, because Martin O'Malley wasn't getting blacked out. As soon as she found out that Bernie Sanders specifically was a threat, she went out of her way to use the fact that Bernie, any contacts that Bernie could use to win an election in a traditional manner, Hillary had already touched before. And that's what a lot of people didn't realize, and I think that's why it was so hard to believe. But she had people come into his campaign that literally were a super PAC for her, or a firm like that used to work for her that worked in D.C. that she had ties to. They were leaving their campaign and working for Hillary, or their like presidential, vice presidential positions, and immediately leaving and like joining Bernie Sanders' campaign right after a $15,000 deposit was made to the company's account. It was things like that that made it blatantly obvious that she had infiltrated. And if you couple that with the registration switches in New York, the registration switches in Arizona, California, I mean, Florida, there was a box of ballots found in the closet. It's obvious that she had never planned on losing this Democratic primary. But what came of it, and I'm kind of glad she behaved this way, and I'm glad Bernie was there also to help unite people simultaneously, because what came of it is a revolution unlike what we've never seen, because we haven't had the information age. FEC documents weren't as accessible to the average person. We couldn't check on election fraud. We wouldn't know if our state were having the same similar issues as a state like California, because our media does not coordinate as much. So I'm kind of glad that at least if it did happen, it happened in an era where we can all be connected and all inform each other.
One of the things you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you said Trump won by popular vote. Hillary Clinton won by rigging the system, and that's why Hillary should not be president, because this is not just an issue for Bernie, but this is an issue for the wider kind of transparency, for the wider kind of political system that you choose to live in. Is that correct?
Yes. So my exact words were something to the extent of Hillary Clinton won by voter suppression, whereas Donald Trump won by breaking Republican voter turnout. That is a scary thought, because you can't beat a white man at his own game when you won through voter suppression, and he won through increasing voter registration and increasing voter turnout. So in the general election, this does not only damage us as looking at the presidential election going forward, but we have to think about municipality elections. We have to think about congressional districts, local congressional districts. We have to think about the House. We have to think about the Senate. And couple that with the gerrymandering, you cannot win when you told everybody in the country who is a Democrat that your vote does not matter if I don't want it to.
Also, what is the plan moving forward? I'm hearing a lot of people saying that they're going to be campaigning against Hillary in major swing states. A lot of delegates say they want a roll call vote. What is the plan moving forward to make sure Hillary does not get in office?
The plan moving forward, as you know, is that we're burning your butts. So we're going to start here at the convention. We're going to let the super delegates know what time it is. We're going to give them all the information. They know as much as we do that Hillary Clinton cannot win this election. If she goes against Trump right now, she will get demolished because, like I said before, Jill Stein is not going to plateau in her numbers. Gary Johnson is not going to plateau in her numbers. Trump isn't going to plateau in his numbers. The only thing that conclusively shows that historically the only person that will plateau is Hillary Clinton. Her numbers never grow. They only get smaller or they stay the same, especially if she is not already completely demolishing the candidate. She has never been completely demolishing Trump even before the FBI investigation. So when you add that to the fact that Jill Stein's numbers are absolutely bound to grow after this convention, if Bernie Sanders does not win, that Gary Johnson has a significant portion of the electorate because a lot of people, about 30% of the independent voters are conservative and or libertarian. When you consider the fact that she's a white woman attempting to get the white majority vote against a man who thrives off of white supremacy, that is where he gets the most of his votes from, it's going to be very, very hard for her to prove that she can win. And on top of that, she's going to have to deal with us making sure she doesn't win. Because I, like many others, understand that this isn't just about America. This isn't just about in a general election or a presidential primary election. This is about the security and the preservation of our democracy, and this is about the security and preservation of the world abroad. Because America, because we have become a very police state and we've gotten involved in so many relations, we have done too much and caused too many lies. And Hillary Clinton has been one of the main proponents of that. She was possibly one of the worst Secretary of States in the history of the United States of America. And that is not an exaggeration, ladies and gentlemen. War has increased. The problem is they're proxy wars, and since they're not world wars, you and I don't hear about them on the news as often as we should. The only time we hear about them is when one soldier dies, when they neglect to talk about the thousands of innocent people who have died as a result. And so we are going to do whatever we can to make sure that Hillary cannot take another life abroad and that she cannot propagate the wrongful incarceration of another minority here. Or she cannot pander to another Latino that's legitimately worried about being deported and dealing with immigration when she has actually introduced no valid plan to tell us how she's going to prevent that from happening. We will not stand for bullshit rhetoric anymore. We want to see another candidate like Bernie Sanders or Jill Stein or someone else who is revolutionary stand up and say, we're tired of the talk, all we want to see is action. If you don't have that for us, then we have nothing more to say to you.
But she has hot sauce with her everywhere she goes. No, I'm just joking.
I saw that hot sauce. That was a toy hot sauce. That was toy hot sauce. That wasn't real.
No, but seriously, seeing everything here on the street, I've seen one Hillary Clinton supporter in a convertible just honking the horn. And everywhere I go, we are seeing Bernie Sanders supporters and people who are just sick and tired of Hillary Clinton. From what I'm seeing here on the ground, Hillary Clinton is having a lot more enemies within her party that she tried to sway. Anything else you want to say, Nico, about the situation unfolding here and what's going to happen in this election?
I am not a fan of Ted Cruz. But what I will say about Ted Cruz is that he hit the nail around the head. We need to vote our conscience. We need Democrats. Those who have been traditionally party-affiliated Democrats, we need you to realize, ladies and gentlemen, that you are not Democrats. You're not Republicans. You are human beings. You are American citizens. What you say, how you behave this election will determine the outcome of our country going forward. And not only our country, but the people that we must sympathize with overseas. Because the Brexit, the British exit of European Union falls as much on us as it does Great Britain because we're part of the reason that these immigrants had to migrate to Europe. And it's much easier to get into Europe through Turkey than it is to get into America across the seas. We are part of the reason that Syrians have become so displaced and refugees have taken to the seas. You have responsibilities as Americans, not as Democrats, not as Republicans. to realize and educate yourself on just how dangerous this country has become. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we are the bad guys. And until we honestly recognize that and deal with it, we're going to continue to be the bad guys and be blind to by our own greed, by our own comfortability, that we're going to continue to completely ignore the turmoil that's going on overseas. We need change now.
Thank you so much for your opinions. I really deeply appreciate that. Again, don't forget to subscribe. We're going to be here on the ground at the DNC in Philly all week long, reporting live for you. And of course, we don't always agree with everyone we interview 100%, but we are here giving you the opinions, and it's amazing and fascinating to see the Democratic Party turn in on itself and to have this huge resistance on the left against Hillary Rodham Clinton. This is going to be a really interesting election.